Hello, hello, everybody, and welcome. This is Rebbe joining you here on this beautiful Monday night where we're going to have a Chumash lesson, episode 122, I believe. And in this episode, we're going to talk about the lice facts. Okay, interesting facts about lice. So for this episode, you're going to need your notebooks so that you can write down the facts, and you're going to need to probably pause the video at different points so that you can write it down. But what I'm really excited about in today's episode is we have an unbelievable guest. And you met her, you heard about her in my class. I spoke about her a lot. She's a very, very talented artist. Let me show you some of the work that she's done. So basically, you remember here we had the frogs. She made this big frog with the little frogs. We now know about why she did that. She has her croaky facts. She has kinim. Here you see the kinim. We're going to learn about why she made this drawing really soon. Here's her dam. Here's Arov, the wild animals. And then we have the itchy facts, which is the facts that we're going to be learning about. So she called them itchy facts, wild facts, bloody facts. And here's our locusts. It's unbelievable drawings, the barad, and just such unbelievable stuff. So it's my pleasure to welcome to tonight's show. This is Rachel Drang. Come on out and join us, Rachel Drang.
Hello.
Hello, how are you?
Good. Thank you for having me on the show.
It's a pleasure. This is actually my ninth grade daughter over here, and she once did a Makut project herself, and we saw some of your stuff. You're really incredibly talented.
Thank you.
So first of all, did you have fun with making all those pictures?
I had a lot of fun making those pictures, especially coming up with the names of the facts, like the bloody facts, croaky facts. I put a lot of effort into
I can tell you,
cute name.
All my students every year they always use your names of the facts. Yeah, you definitely. I'm hoping we're gonna have some new ideas, but yes, those names are really awesome. I think that I think I heard you say that let me ask you, did everybody choose to do drawings, or was everybody doing drawings, or
not everybody did drawings? A lot of people did printouts or coloring pages. I chose to do drawings because I really like drawing.
Wow.
And also, I don't think our printer happened to be working at the time.
Okay, that could be a good reason too. Where'd you get the ideas for some of your drawings?
Where did I get the ideas?
Yeah, I mean, some of them, like we saw here, are really unbelievable. You're looking at Barad over here. I mean, this is pretty amazing.
Okay, so honestly, I got a lot of the ideas out of the movie Out of Egypt.
Oh.
If you guys ever seen that movie?
I think some of us have, yeah.
So I think some of the ideas I thought of from there.
I have an amazing question to ask you. Do you have a personal favorite of all the mako that you're
for
drawing?
Sure.
Yeah.
My two favorites are the barad and the locust.
The locust.
I love those.
How come?
I worked really, really hard on them, and I like that they're really, really detailed. There's a lot going on the page.
And they weren't just drawings, any type of drawings. Your drawings were very, very it was a medrash, or it was a certain part of the makkah. It wasn't just anything.
Right. For the for the lice, I did the floor made out of the lice. Also, for the barad, I did the palm tree cracking in half. That was a thing.
Wow. And what's your message to my audience today about how much, what do you think, what's your advice about, the Mako project, and, you did it when you were in 5th grade, and now you still have it now when you're in 9th grade. What's the message that you want them to know?
Okay, put a lot of work in it, guys. It's like really worth it. Like I worked really hard and I'm really, really proud of it. I still have it and I like to look back in it. And also like pace yourself when you do it. Don't do it all in one night. Don't waste it for the end. Do it like over time and don't like save everything to the last minute. You'll be pressured and it won't come out good.
Rachel, that was some sound advice. Thank you so much for coming out here and doing this interview. We really appreciate it.
Thanks for having me.
All right. Have a great night. Let's hear it for Rachel. Thank you so much. All right, boys and girls, we're going to continue now together, just me and you, though, and because we're going to let them do their thing, and I'm going to teach you now about the Mako facts. So let's get right into it. Okay, so we got some borrowed facts. Here we go. I'm sorry, some lice facts. Okay, so we got our Keenan page here. We got interesting fact number 1. So interesting fact number 1 is always the description fact. We know it's the description fact. Aaron hit the dust of the earth. We learned about why Aaron hit it, because you don't have to write that, but Aaron hit it because it protected Moshe when he was a baby. That was in our last lesson. Not when he was a baby. When he killed the Mitzri, he was able to hide the Mitzri in the dirt. So Aaron hit the dust of the earth, and all the dust in the land turned to lice, and there was lice on man and animal. So you can pause the video now, write down interesting fact 1, but I'm going to keep going. Interesting fact 2 is there was no warning for this plague. So I gave you a little bit of a forewarning that we were gonna forewarning that was going to be one of the facts, that this plague was the first one, that there was no, it just happened. Moshe did not go to Paro and say, hey, there's going to be a plague here, you better let the Jews go. You don't want the right? There was no warning for this plague. Okay. Fact number 3, this was the first plague that the magicians could not imitate. Okay. Fact number 3. Now, why could they not imitate it? Okay. So that we're going to add to some stuff that we know. Now we learned about that the magicians of Egypt were only able to get the demons to control things that were at least the size of a barley kernel. That's what we learned. So in this case, the lice was so small they couldn't control them. But we're going to see now there is more than just one reason. There are different reasons. The reason that Rashi gives is that an evil spirit cannot control something smaller than a barley kernel, which is what we spoke about. Others say because the only magicians can do magic, the only way magicians do magic is only by having their feet on the ground. They have to have their feet on the ground. Something about being connected to the ground gives the sorcerers of Egypt the power. They get the forces of the ground inside them, and they can, if they're elevated from the ground, they cannot do magic. So when there was lice, the commentaries say it was about 4 feet of lice on the ground. So they were literally 4 feet above the ground. They couldn't do their magic. So that is the reason. Okay. Mida Kineg, you go ahead, pause the video, write that down. Mida Kineg and Mida. Mida Kineg and Mida. In other words, every time the Egyptians got hit with a plague, it was because of something they did to us. Hashem didn't just punish them for no reason. They got measure for measure what they deserved. So how was lice something that was measure for measure? So it says over here, let's erase get this out of the way. It says over here, because they denied us the ability to wash. So what do you think happens when you don't take showers? We were their slaves. They said, we're not letting you wash. We got lice. So to them, that's why Hashem gave them lice. Another reason is because they made us sweep. They made us sweep the dust from the streets. They made us, when we were slaves, They made us sweep the dust off the streets. So Hashem took away all the dust. So there's nothing left to sweep. Okay, you can give the video a pause and go ahead and write down interesting fact number 4. Interesting fact number 5. There were some lice that was literally the size of an egg. A lice that was this big, crazy, or this big. That's how big it was. Huge, size of eggs. And when they saw that, the sorcerers said, let's try. Because you can ask the question, the sorcerers knew that they can't do anything that's smaller. They can't get the control of a demon to control something smaller than a kernel of barley. So why'd they bother trying? Because some of the lice was so big, they said, oh, maybe we can do it. But they couldn't, because those big lice were only big because it ate so much dust and it got big. But really that lice started as something small. Okay, so the point is, it started, they were the size of eggs, and that is, and that's just an interesting fact that some of the lice was the size of an eggs. Okay, interesting fact number 6. This one went to the Jews, but didn't bother them. So there was actually lice where the Jews lived. It just didn't really bother them as much as it bothered the Egyptians. Like, they would itch. It didn't bother the Jews, but it was there. And you don't have to write this, but it's just something that you should know that makes sense, because then Yaakov would have been buried in Goshen. Okay, because one of the things that Yaakov said is, I don't want to be buried. I want to be buried in Israel, not in Egypt, because if I'm buried in Egypt, so that when the lice come, they're going to come and destroy, they're going to eat, everything in the ground. They're going to eat everything in the ground. So I don't want to be buried there. Well, if the lice didn't go to Goshen, that wouldn't be a problem. He can just be buried in Goshen. So that's why that's why he didn't want to be buried in. That's why he had to be buried in Eretz Yisrael. And it says here also that if they were not there, if let's say they weren't in Goshen, then the sorcerers, why did we say they couldn't do the plague? They couldn't imitate it. One of the reasons was because they were above the ground. Not what Rashi says, but the other opinion was it was above the ground. They weren't above the ground. If they were in Goshen, they can go to Goshen, unless we say they were also in Goshen. Okay? And this one is really fascinating. Interesting fact number 7. Very few people know this, but this is unbelievable. This is really unbelievable. Some say lice, shchin, and choshech came together. In other words, when lice happened, some say the Egyptians also got boils. And not only did they get boils, it got dark. So we always thought that each one was separate makos. When they got lice, they got lice. When they got shin, they got shchin. When they got choshech, they got choshech. But some opinion holds, not every opinion, but one opinion holds, whenever they got lice, whenever they got shchin, whenever they got shor, but when it says those 3 makot, they got all these 3 makot at the same time. So when it says they got lice, they got shchin and choshech. When it says they got shchin, they got choshech and lice. When it says they got choshech, they got shchin and lice along with choshech. And what's the proof to this? What's the proof to this opinion? So if you write out the 3 names of the makot, chaf nun mem, that's kinim, and shchin, shin chaf nun, I just put it as a nun and not a nun sofit, and choshech, chet shin chaf sofit. So if you spell it across, it spells out, but if you spell it down, if you read it down, look what happens. If you read it down, you see choshech is spelled over here, chet shin chaf. If you read this down, it spells shin chaf nun for shchin, and here you have the chaf sofit, nun, and mem spells kinim. So even if you read it across or if you read it down, when you put these 3 makot together, they all line up and spell the same thing. Well, that is the end of our lesson. I hope you enjoyed. Have a great day.